60、
打ち上げ1分前です。
It's 1 minute to lift off.
57、56、55、54、53、52、51、50、49、48、47、46、45、44、43、42、41、40、39、38、37、36、35、34、33。
T minus 30 seconds and counting.
散水開始。
The launch deck water curtain starts.
27、26、25、24、23、22、21、20、19、18、17、16、15、
Flight mode on.
Flight mode on.
T minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition. And liftoff. Liftoff of the HTV on a journey to the International Space Station.
ステーション補給機コウノトリ4号機を搭載した H2B ロケット4号機は平成25年8月4日午前4時48分46秒に種子島宇宙センターから打ち上げられました。
We had a liftoff of the H-2B launch vehicle number 4 with the Konotori 4 on board from the Tanegashima Space Center at 4:48:46 a.m. on August 4, 2013, Japan Standard Time.
And 35 seconds into the flight, and the familiar scream of the HTV as it heads uphill.
総合司令塔に引き継がれています。
After liftoff, the launch vehicle operation control was shifted from the blockhouse to the range control center.
ロケットは現在初期飛行方位角を 108.5 度とし徐々に南東方向の太平洋上へ飛行しています。
The H-2B is now flying over the Pacific Ocean to the southeast with its initial flight angle of 108.5 degrees.
60、
打ち上げ後1分が経過しました。
It's 1 minute after liftoff.
ロケットは正常に飛行中であり種子島、内之浦の各地上局は正常にロケットの追尾を行っています。
The H-2B is flying normally, and the Tanegashima and Uchinoura stations are tracking the launch vehicle very well.
80、81、82、83、84、85、86、89、
1 minute 30 seconds into the flight, all systems go.
90。
Standing by for SRB burnout.
110、11、12、13、
SRBA 燃焼終了。
SLBA burnout.
Burnout confirmed.
19、120。
SRBA
First pair jettisoned. The second pair will follow here shortly.
The first and second pairs of SLBAs were jettisoned.
O 小笠原局でのロケット追尾が開始されました。
The Ogasawara station has started tracking.
The fairing that surrounds the HTV at the top of the rocket should be jettisoned here in less than a minute.
打ち上げ後3分が経過しました。
It's 3 minutes after liftoff.
第1段エンジンの燃焼は正常。制御系、飛行系ロケットは順調に飛行を続けており、現在の高度は約 107.9km、秒速約 2.3km です。
The first stage engine combustion, attitude control, and flight trajectory are all normal. The flight goes very smoothly. Current altitude is approximately 107.9 kilometers. Velocity is approximately 2.3 kilometers per second.
衛星フェアリング分離。
Payload fairing jettison.
The fairing has been jettisoned. The next milestone will be the first stage engine cutoff. That should occur here in less than about 2 minutes.
打ち上げ後5分が経過しました。
It's 5 minutes after liftoff.
ロケットは順調に飛行を続けており、現在の高度は約 160km、秒速約 4.3km です。
About 30 more seconds left in the first stage engine.
Current altitude is about 160 kilometers. Velocity is approximately 4.3 kilometers per second.
Standing by for first stage cutoff.
第1段エンジン燃焼停止。
First stage engine cut off.
Cutoff confirmed. The first stage should be dropping away here shortly from the second stage, and the second stage will ignite.
ロケットから分離。
First and second stage is separation.
第2段エンジン燃焼開始。
Second stage engine ignition.
So right on time, the second stage ignites and powers the rest of the flight. The second stage will burn for about the next 8 minutes or so, and then it will cut off, and then separation will occur at 3:03 p.m. Central Time.
Ground station has started tracking.
Again, this vehicle is taking with it 3.6 tons of supplies for the Expedition 36 crew, including quite a bit of science and crew supplies, as well as some new tasks for the important robotic refueling mission, or RRM. This is a live look at the Scuba Space Center as the JAXA team there monitors their vehicle as it flies up into space. Now 7 minutes into the mission. This is the fourth time an HTV has flown up into space. The first one was back in 2009 in September of that year, the inaugural mission. The second HTV flew in January of 2011, and then the third one was in July of last year. This particular HTV will stay on board the station for about a month. Its final day will be September the 4th.
After liftoff.
第2段エンジンの燃焼は正常。制御系、飛行経路も正常です。現在の高度は約256メートル、256km、秒速約 5.6km です。
The second stage engine combustion, attitude control, and flight trajectory are all normal. Current altitude is about 256 kilometers. Velocity is about 5.6 kilometers per second.
HTV is already more than 161 miles in altitude, continuing to burn that second stage engine up until about 3:03 and 35 seconds p.m. Central Time. That is when it'll cut off and be separated. Again, the HTV is going to stay on board the station until September the 4th. It'll be detached by the crew, and then on September the 5th, the next day, it'll be sent into a destructive reentry. Its job would be finished at that point. This is to make way for quite a bit of traffic that is happening up on board the station with Soyuz rotations, both launches and landings, as well as the important orbital Cygnus mission that is going to be happening in the middle of September. This will be the final flight of NASA's Commercial Orbital Transportation Services program. And after that flight is complete, and assuming it is successful, the Cygnus vehicle will join HTV as well as ATV and the Progress vehicle as well as the SpaceX Dragon as part of NASA's cargo fleet of resupply vehicles. Now approaching the 10-minute mark into the flight of this HTV.
打ち上げ後10分が経過しました。
It's 10 minutes after liftoff.
ロケットは順調に飛行しています。ロケットは種子島、内之浦の各地上局から捕捉範囲を離れ、小笠原のおよびグアム局から追尾されています。
The flight is progressing smoothly. The launch vehicle is out of tracking range of the Tanegashima and Uchinoura station, and the Ogasawara and Guam stations are tracking it.
第2段エンジンの燃焼は正常、制御系、飛行経路も正常であり、ロケットは現在安定した飛行を続けています。現在の高度は約 288km、秒速約 6.4km です。
The second stage engine combustion, attitude control, and flight. The flight goes very smoothly. Current altitude is approximately 288 kilometers. Velocity is about 6.4 kilometers per second.
So HTV now almost 180 miles up in the air. It's moving close to 4 miles per second.
小笠原局がロケットの追尾を終了しました。現在、グアム局から追尾を行っています。
The Ogasawara station finished tracking, and the Guam station is now tracking the launch vehicle.
ロケットは現在安定して飛行を続けています。
The flight goes very smoothly.
Less than a minute to go in the second stage burn that is being conducted now, powering these final few moments of flight. The second stage should be shut down at 3:03 and 1 second. And then about 30 seconds later, that is when HTV will be separated from the vehicle itself and will be on its way. There are 2 burns planned for later on this evening and 1 for tomorrow. This will continue to correct the course of HTV as it bears down on the International Space Station. Again, our rendezvous scheduled for Friday morning.
第2段エンジン燃焼停止。
Second stage engine cut off.
Second stage engine cutoff confirmed, right on time.
ロケットは飛行を続けています。
The launch vehicle is in coast flight.
What you're seeing on your screen appears to be playback from our JAXA colleagues of the SRBs coming off the vehicle during the first couple of minutes of flight. There goes the fairing separation.
HTV-4 分離
HTV-4 separation.
So at 3:03 p.m. Central Time, HTV reaches space and is in orbit. It has been separated from its second stage of the rocket. Both the JAXA and the Tanegashima Space Center teams there applauding.
物資を搭載したコウノトリ4号機は宇宙ステーション
The sun just beginning to rise there in Japan.
The Konotori 4 carrying supply goods left for the International Space Station.
We should be getting some replays here shortly of the launch.
これをもちまして
But just to summarize, launch did take place on time at 2:48 p.m. Central Time, 46 seconds.
終了いたします
HTV reached orbit at 3:03 p.m. Central Time.
HTV launch vehicle number 4 with the Konotori 4 on board.
今後のコウノトリ4号機の状況につきましては記者会見並びにプレスリリースにて発表いたします。種子島宇宙センター竹崎総合司令塔よりお伝えしました。ありがとうございました。
The flight status of the Konotori 4 will be announced at the press conference as well as through the press releases. This report was from the Takesaki Range Control Center at the Tanegashima Space Center. Thank you very much.
Again, this is a live view of the Tanegashima Space Center, that beautiful area of the world. Too bad the sun was not up when we had our launch, but the launch spectacular and awe-inspiring nonetheless. HTV lifted off at 2:48 and 46 seconds p.m. Central Time. That was 4:48 in the morning there in Tanegashima. The vehicle performed as expected. Everything went according to plan. The SRBs did separate as planned, and then the fairing came off. The two stages separated. The second stage powered for the rest of the flight. And then at 3:03 p.m. Central Time, 4:03 p.m. Eastern, HTV reached orbit after separating from that second stage and after second stage engine cut down. The vehicle has 3.6 tons of supplies on board that is going to be heading up to the International Space Station. There are 2 engine burns that will take place later on this evening. The first one should take place at about 10:19 p.m. Central Time, and then the second one should take place a little bit before midnight at 11:51 p.m. Central Time. There is one tomorrow on Sunday as well, and then there's a few more mid-course correction burns as HTV continues this 6-day journey up to the International Space Station. Our coverage on Friday morning of the rendezvous of HTV once it gets up to the area of the station will begin at 5 a.m. Central Time. This is a live view from the Tanegashima Space Center. We're getting reports that the Space Center itself has eyes on the International Space Station. That dot you see there on the screen should be the space station flying overhead. The station right now currently over the Pacific Ocean at an altitude of about 265 miles. But of course, the space station moves at about 5 miles a second. A little bit tricky to capture on camera, as you can see from it bouncing around here. But inside that little tiny dot is the crew of Expedition 36. They were awake, watching our broadcast here on NASA television as we brought you live coverage as HTV launched from Tanegashima. And now they're looking down on the launch site itself as they continue down toward the southeast over the Pacific Ocean. At the moment of liftoff, the space station and the crew were high above the border between Russia and Kazakhstan at about 260 miles, and now they're over the Pacific Ocean. And of course, as we mentioned, the Tanegashima team there getting their view of the International Space Station as it passes overhead in the early morning hours there in Tanegashima. As you saw from our live shot just a few minutes ago, the sun just beginning to rise. That is typically the best time that you can see the space station flying overhead, even over your hometown, is in the early morning hours or the early evening hours, whenever it's still dark where you are, but the sun just beginning to either rise or set while it lights up the huge orbiting complex. Of course, it's very easy to spot. It's usually the brightest object in the night sky besides the moon. And if you would like to find out when you can spot the space station over your hometown, just log on to nasa.gov/station. NASA.gov/station. There's a spot the station link there on the left-hand side. Now replays from the Tanegashima Space Center as liftoff occurred once again at 2:48 p.m. Central Time.
SRBA 点火リフト
SRBA ignition and liftoff.
宇宙ステーション補給機コウノトリ4号機を搭載した H2B ロケット4号機は平成25年8月4日午前4時48分46秒に種子島宇宙センターから打ち上げられました。
We had a liftoff of the H2B launch vehicle number 4 with the Konotori 4 on board from the Tanegashima Space Center at 4:48:46 a.m. on August 4, 2013 Japan Standard Time.
打ち上げ以降ロケットの管制は吉信発射管制塔から竹崎総合司令塔に引き継がれています。
After liftoff, the launch vehicle operation control was shifted from the blockhouse to the range control center.
ロケットは現在初期飛行方位角を 108.5 度とし徐々に南東方向の太平洋上へ飛行しています。
The H2B is now flying over the Pacific Ocean to the southeast with its initial flight angle.
小終了
SLBA burnout.
17、18、19、120。
SRBA 第1ペア分離第2ペア分離
The first and second pairs of SLBAs were jettisoned.
ロケットは現在完成飛行を続けています。
The launch vehicle is in coast flight.
HTV-4 分離
HTV-4 separation.